Guys, who keeps giving rec shares my email address? They keep emailing me every single time they pay out a dividend. But hey, this past month's dividend was so fat, I'm so glad they emailed me. Please keep emailing me if you're gonna deliver this great news. This was actually the first time that FEPI, F-E-P-I, had paid out a dividend where the dividend actually declined. This is the fourth overall payment. So first they paid $1.15, they raised it by 3 cents, they raised it by 2 cents, and this most recent dividend was $1.19. So it actually went down by a whole penny. But just remember, FEPI's dividends, they're going to be variable. They're based on the options trading that they do. And so every month they're going to switch it up a little bit. So this doesn't surprise me. It's still a very impressive 2.10% yield, which would give them an annualized yield of 25%. Again, super impressive. But to me, the most impressive part about FEPI is that since their inception in October, this fund has actually went up nearly 11% in capital appreciation. Wow, would you take a look at that? It's almost as if a fund whose strategy isn't super aggressive, it leaves the door open for capital appreciation. If you hold a good basket of stocks, it's possible not to have NAV erosion and take advantage of that options trading. Thank you, FEPI, for showing that's possible. And it has a slightly lower expense ratio. FEPI is an income ETF that keeps the strategy super simple. They own 15 big tech companies. They evenly distribute the weighting, and then they do layered out covered calls and collect those juicy premiums. Now, this doesn't mean that there's no risk involved in investing in FEPI. There's going to be a risk involved in any sort of investment. Stocks can certainly go down. Stocks look very overvalued right now, but stocks can also go way up. We will miss some of that upside if a stock does very well. But I like FEPI because it's not just one stock. It's a basket of some really good high quality companies. Now, some of the stocks that are held in FEPI recently announced some big news, some potential scary news. So I have to go over that with you guys. We'll start off with some good news. So Nvidia is the most talked about stock and the hottest stock, and rightfully so. Remember guys, your Uncle Cody has been discussing Nvidia on this channel as far back as 2019. And I've definitely been rewarded with my investment seeds that I planted all those years ago. But investing in FEPI, you also are investing in Nvidia. And Nvidia basically broke the market with their shares now up 235% in the last year as Nvidia becomes a $2 trillion company. Nvidia, of course, is a leader in AI models used on their pricey graphics processors. That's a very profitable segment for Nvidia. $18 billion in their data centers in their most recent quarter. You wonder why Nvidia just keeps going up and up? Well, look how rapidly the revenues are growing, how rapidly it's going up. It's justified to an extent why they're going up in share price so much. Unfortunately, that's kind of where the good news ends because Google managed to bring their wokeness into their AI products. Google has had to pause some of their Gemini AI capabilities because it tried to incorporate diversity into anything. Like, I'm talking if you ask them to do a prompt to make pictures of soldiers who fought for Germany in World War II, it will give you pictures of black people and Asians. Because, you know, black people and Asians were totally fighting on the side of Germany in World War II. I'm sure that's exactly how the Aryan race looked like in the chancellor's eyes. And this is a picture I personally took myself when I asked Google AI, what race was George Washington? A super simple question. Except when you ask Gemini, apparently it's not a super simple question to answer. Apparently, him being white or not depends on the history of the time. Because apparently some of his descendants may have later had black children, and that somehow means that George Washington existing years back, that somehow means he's black. Yeah, this is where AI is headed. You know, all those dollar bills you had in your pocket of George Washington. Man, that's just because the Treasury didn't have the darker ink all these years. They didn't have Google AI informing them that George Washington was black. Just keep in mind, AI is just regurgitating information that it's been programmed to say by the people making it. Clearly, we have some rewriting of history to fit certain agendas. Thankfully, Google only makes up 7% of FEPI, so let's hope in the future our shareholder money goes toward developing neutral products, because no one will use garbage like this. Just to show how FEPI does have some risk, let's look at one of the other stocks they own called Palo Alto Networks, probably the one company that it owns that you've never heard of. But owning FEPI, you get about 7% exposure to Palo Alto Networks. So this company dropped nearly 25% in just 1 week after announcing earnings. Palo Alto Networks is a global cybersecurity leader, and that's especially important in today's day and age. We just had AT&T have nationwide outages, and look at all the problems that caused. Anyway, the stock was down because they lowered their guidance on revenue for fiscal year 2024, but it's not all bad news. The company did grow their revenues over 20%. Just a lot of expectations have been put on this company. Not everyone can be an Nvidia and just keep knocking expectations out of the ballpark. Customers typically enter into contracts to receive Palo Alto's cloud-based software packages, so there's locked-in revenue for years to come. Even with their 25% share price drop, Palo Alto is still up nearly 50% in the last year. So guys, is now the time to sell FEPI because a couple of their stocks, they had some bad news? Well, not quite. This is exactly why I'm glad FEPI has 15 great companies. Even if one of them is going through a hard time, there's going to be other companies that make them so much more money because they're offering goods and services that people are constantly going to be paying top dollar to use. Except Google AI. Nobody is going to be paying top dollar to use that unless you look like this. And just a reminder, they are following a index. They're following the FANG and Innovation Index. So that's constantly getting rebalanced every single month and quarter for weighting and the constituents that make up that index. So we're always getting the most exciting companies that we're able to do call options on and generate that monthly dividend income. So FEPI, they just paid their 4th ever dividend. It was another fat one. It was another juicy one. Let's keep up this hot streak, Rex shares. Keep George Washington White. Keep earning those dividends. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe because I make update videos like this all the time. See my full $180,000 plus portfolio in the Patreon link below. And I will catch you on the next one.